Welcome to the Sanborn Regional School District Budget Committee meeting for September 18th, 2025. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So I know Ren's going to be absent tonight. I don't know about Mika. Haven't heard from him lately. And let's see if Terry shows up in a few minutes. So Summer, did you have a chance to finish the minutes or are you still working? No worries. So we're just going to table those for now and we'll take a look at them at our next meeting if that's okay. No worries. So we'll table those. Even if you finish them, I wouldn't have had time to read them, so that's fine. Oh, there she is.
You didn't miss much.
Hey, Terry.
There's a lot of
We
people
just
out
started.
there.
Yes.
Oh, is that parents' night or something?
Yep. And academic awards.
So tonight, we're going to go over some responses to our questions. We had about 55 or 60 questions for the administration, for Marie Monday, our VA, and for Bob Dawson, and they were kind enough to stay up late answering the questions for us for tonight. I don't have too many questions about the responses, but just for people at home watching, I would like to attach the questions and the answers to the minutes for tonight, just so they're available to people, if that makes sense. So a lot of questions covered our legal expenses, Fremont students, high school debt service, the 500,000 payout to the former superintendent, co-curricular salaries, tuition to Seacoast School of Technology. Other questions concerned what do services for home base, in-step basics and the zones program provide. We had questions about the Christie building and whether SAU offices leased for $90,000 a year could possibly be used in a different fashion and have the SAU staff move into the high school, which has excess capacity. There were many questions about significant increases in line items compared from this year to from last year, and those include line item 1373, miscellaneous expenses, which increased from 13K to 148K. So that was an excellent question. Contracted some, and I have the answers down here, but these are just some of the ones that jumped out at us. The contracted summer services district was 14K last fiscal year and was shown as 60K this year. Online access fees were 3.5K, up to almost 19,000. 4889 online access fees again went from 425 up to 3,000. Mileage reimbursement was 2,000 and has increased as a budgeted amount to 5,000. That was a concern. Maintenance service district property was almost 9K last budget year, and this current year it's budgeted for 95,000 from 9,000. So we definitely wanted to understand that one. Supplies high school went from 19,000 to 40,000. Supplies science increased 1,308%. After school Saturday detention increased 488%. And line 11, regular education salaries district rose from 70,000 to 197,000. So some of the reasons given for these increases made sense. For example, that last one, the regular salary increase was because we hired a literacy coordinator for K-5, and that was added to that line item. So that boosted that particular expense. Other reasons for significant increases were that we hired 3 new positions or we retained 3 positions. Some items were budgeted on the wrong line, so they just had to be moved to the correct line, and that was actually a typo, basically. There was a large shop class wood order. I noticed that one. One involved a large expense for a pilot program involving multiple grades. Some of the entries that were increased were because of the collective bargaining agreement. So those are basically baked into the budget and are required to be budgeted. But I would note that CBA costs are a function of staffing, and staffing is a function of programming, and those things can change. Let me see. Some responses I thought needed improvement. For example, the co-curricular dues amount spent in 24-25 was 4,778. It was budgeted this year for this current year for, instead of 4,700, it was 8,700. So that's an 83% increase. And the response given for that was inflation and costs go up. Now, inflation didn't go up 83%. So I'd like to dig into that one a little bit more. We also asked if there were any significant placeholder amounts that were being maintained in the budget, just in case amounts, if they want to hire people, because since I've been up in Concord, some of the representatives actually will go to the department buildings to see if the number of staff budgeted are actually working in the building. They want to make sure that there's no line items that are just kind of just in case line amounts which aren't used, because that's just not fair. I mean, if you're not going to use, if they're non-critical staff, you should not be doing that. So sometimes there's someone who's been budgeted for several years and they were never hired. Okay, really, I don't think that's an urgent need at this point. And I also noticed that another reason for that large amount that was unexpended was it's used for contracted help. So it might look like it's a salary position that wasn't filled, but it was actually used to contract out of district, because you can't always find someone that will work for the district at the salary offered. So you have to have a vendor come in to provide the service. So it was actually utilized. And then placeholder amounts unspent, because it's difficult to predict actual needs, and I completely understand that, especially when it comes to special ed costs. You have no idea what could happen during the year, but it's a federal mandate, and the feds only kick in 17% to cover the costs. And we are required by law to cover all of the costs for needed services for that. So that was my summary of the questions. And looking at the questions, I did note a few things I wanted to ask about tonight, but we can just start on the first page if you'd like and go through each page. And if anyone has a question about specific responses, we can go ahead and ask those. The first set of questions were Brooks. So do you have any follow-up questions, or were you satisfied with all of the responses?
I would say that I'm satisfied.
Okay. Yeah, your questions were pretty well answered. I noticed the one about the 500,000 paid for the previous superintendent, in the response, where was that money coming from? In the last year's budget? Well, the answer was it came from the FY25 budget. Actually, it came from taxpayers, not just the budget, but from actual taxpayers, because I did watch the Finance Facilities Subcommittee meeting, and they mentioned that the unexpended balance last year was 2.2 million, which would likely be returned to taxpayers. But because of the amount we paid to the superintendent who left, that was reduced to 1.7 million. So that was a large expense. Now, in Claremont, where they have budget problems, as you all know, they had to offer their departing superintendent a severance package of $40,000. And the taxpayers went to the meeting and were outraged about this. And I thought, well, you know what, hold our beer, because 40,000 is nothing compared to what we paid. So anyway, that did come out of the unexpended balance. So any questions on page 1, page 2 that you'd like clarified? Gary's question again raises the amount paid to
Well, for the
the former.
500,000
Yes,
to pay to the superintendent.
yes.
And why the three teachers, well, I know why, but the three teachers that had been taken out of the budget were then put back in. And I saw the school board meeting at which the parents came and requested that they go back in. Is there any chance that those three positions could perhaps come out of the next budget?
Well, that's a question for the coming months at this point, but we'll have to look at enrollment and so forth, see what the needs look like. On page 3, item 13, I did notice that the math equipment for was 4,500. That jumped out at me as well.
I can't believe there's
It was quite a bit for calculators.
$5,000 on graphing calculators in this state, but
Aren't those on the Chromebooks? at this point?
well, and then we give them all a Chromebook. That's beyond graphing calculators are
It could be
antique.
for the,
I've got 10 of them in my basement. But
it could be for the Submariners. They're pretty,
Submariners,
Submariners Club. They're pretty tech savvy. They need super duper calculators for the club.
well,
We have a-
84
we have a
is not a super
submarine-
duper.
We have a submarine team. That's a
Yeah, it's great.
co-curricular works largely with grants from the seminary trustees. I looked at these calculators. These are state of the art.
TI 84.
Yep. Maybe not state of the art, but I mean, they're
They're-
right calculators for the particular classes for which they're used.
Sure.
Well,
I don't know that the Chromebooks can function at the level because the Chromebook course is all basically pushing out to the online. so-
Sure. Yep.
And this
Well,
is the limitation of taking the questions quickly is we'd have to go back and reach into the math department.
oh, sure, I understand. And it's
just
only
every single-
$4,500, but those are antiques that were just,
Right.
Well, I looked up
Gotten
the
rid of a long
exact
time today.
calculator. I mean, these are the newest version of
Yeah.
that particular.
They use it at MIT or something, probably, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
And I was under the impression, now this was up to my question, I guess number 15. I was under the impression that somehow these Chromebooks were paid for through some grants, that the Chromebooks did not come out of the operating budget.
Previously, I believe, and this is one of the limitations of all these questions is some of the answers are very, very detailed and they dive right into the back end of the budget and things that sort of working out of memory. I want to caution everybody here and anybody watching that we had about like 3 days to answer all these questions. So it was difficult. I want to give Christine DeRocher, she also did a lot of work on these too.
Yep.
So, my memory is telling me that previously the Chromebooks were coming out of ESSER funds, which were COVID funds that we received or we received during COVID. So these jump back into a budgeted line when we couldn't spend ESSER.
Yes.
So there's some things like that we can discover during the course of this process.
There were laptops and Chromebooks purchased out of ESSER.
Aren't the children given a Chromebook in elementary or early grades and carried on through high school? How does that work? How does that whole Chromebook
Yep. There's a,
project work?
in the younger grades, I believe they have iPads. And then I don't know exactly which grade they receive the Chromebooks. And I think they carry those through. And I'm not sure if they get new ones in ninth grade or not. I don't recall. But the Chromebooks probably have a lifespan in the hands of teenagers of a good 3 years or so, 3 or 4.
Yeah, just keep recycling.
I mean, there are some that just look perfect when they're seniors and others that are not in the best shape.
No.
I did talk to Gordon as well. We chatted in person for an hour and a half about the technical budgets, and he did mention Chromebooks, aging laptops for teachers and staff, and it all seems good from my side. But again, we can always dive deeper into that later.
Could I ask a question? I don't.
Please.
Again, I keep bringing up the the athletic budget. And I've had trouble following the answer here that there is a separate section in the teacher contract, and that's where I need to go to get details about the athletic budget.
The salaries for coaches, which question is?
Well,
that?
this was actually, well, I had several line items there, but actually it came out as question number 25 there. Now I understand that all athletics and all supplies and referees and transportation and everything in New Hampshire is free.
Say again?
That all the entire athletic program is completely free to all students,
Correct.
which is just contrary to my, I don't wait, from anything I could quite understand is why there's no fee for anything. But now I'd like to know what those expenses are. How can I find this? I have to look at the teacher's contract.
Okay, there's two pieces to this. So the salaries for coaches
Okay.
are negotiated as part of the collective bargaining agreement. I can tell you because they're on page 26 of that agreement. Because as a former athletic director, I looked there a lot. Okay. And so those are defined in there. So the head girls soccer coach gets a salary that's defined in that contract. There are some splits that are made there. We've been able to add some coaches in as well when we have large teams.
Mhm.
It's been very nice to be. And then the rest of the athletic budget, which refers to things like officials or busing, uniforms, soccer balls, field hockey balls and all that, is in a separate athletics budget, which is we can pull up the entire document for last year in the athletic budget. Obviously, I'm super familiar with it because I wrote it. So
I was going to call up the CBA.
So that's not in the document that we were given?
it would be in there. Yeah. Mhm. It's in the, you just have.
I did go line by line as we were asked to do, but I did not see anything in there.
Yeah, I can find it for you.
Um,
Let me just open that. I don't have that document open in front of me, so give me a sec.
I see student transportation athletics is listed
oh,
36,945 for this year.
That's probably the middle school.
It didn't, well, it might have designated, I didn't notice.
See it in there. So
Yep.
like line 923 in the document is replacement equipment athletics for, the different years. And that's football helmets, uniforms, really anything that is designed to last more than a couple of years is out of replacement equipment. And then there's a supply line tucked in there for athletics. And just depending on how that particular report is sorted, those different pieces show up in there.
What page, Bob? 27?
I think it's 26 are the salaries. I hope I'm right.
Well, there's the extracurricular. So it's dictated right within the CBA of how much the teacher will get for, teaching drama. There's this high school activities for co-curricular. And then it just goes down, and then all the different class advisors, how much they get. And that's the core and non-core. And then here's the middle school.
Yep.
And then
A good 20, 30 kids that go skiing on, I think it's Tuesday afternoons right after school.
and then here's the extracurricular for each school broken down. So Bakey School gets 10,500, Memorial School is 11,500. And then high school gets 60. And that's just for the extra.
and those are the extracurricular activity. That's not athletics, correct?
Nope, I'm getting there.
Mhm.
Sorry, I'm going fast because I'm just looking for that section.
I was off.
That's the salary schedules. Did we pass them already?
Nope. Keep going. There's more below that, I think.
Oh. Oh, right here, sorry.
I don't remember.
So
seeing
here's the athletics. Page 30 is the new, is that page, but then
Yeah.
it's broken up by high school and then middle school and each sport. And then by which fiscal year.
Mhm. And that's in the document that we have?
It is not.
That's in this
the teacher
collective.
Collective bargaining agreement document,
Okay.
which
So if you go.
Do we have that?
I can send it to you.
Was gonna say it might benefit the entire board
Sure.
to receive
Yep.
the links to all the.
'Cause I didn't- I did not see this.
Wasn't included in the stuff that you
Okay.
received, so.
No.
What I'm gonna do is reply all to the original email we got for tonight.
Sure.
Actually, I can't do that.
I could just post it in the Google Docs too.
Yeah, I
Together.
can't reply all because it creates a meeting when we email it.
Oh, yeah.
If I'll,
Actually, you.
I can do it through a blind carbon copy. I can do it.
Right.
Yeah.
But you can do reply all, we can't.
That is not the advice I've received recently from the School Board Association attorney.
Well,
Oh,
well, if
okay.
Pam can put it on
No, I just
That way.
I can blind copy everybody.
Put it
I
under
would
the
just like to
Google Doc.
know
2026.
exactly how
I'm trying to be
much,
contentious. I'm trying to be accurate. That's all.
with all of the school systems of which I am familiar, they have fees for, not to cover 100%, certainly not, but there's a fee so that there's some commitment on the children's part and on the parents' part, and parents do fundraising. And it is a huge chunk of a budget over which perhaps we might have some control, where we do not have control over special ed or the teacher contracts, but perhaps we do have some control over the expenses for athletics at a time when the budget seems to be ballooning.
User fees for athletics they do exist in New Hampshire, but they're rare.
As I recall, when hockey was funded, it was only funded for transportation, but the students involved had to pay for their own rink time
They paid
for
for,
practice.
yep,
They
and
had to
our-
fundraise on their own for
But
that
that-
one.
we've changed the way our ice hockey program is structured now for next year, for this year. And that we're basically co-oping our kids into an ice hockey program run by Portsmouth in cooperation with Newmarket High School and Sanborn. And it will basically cost us the same. There's no ice time isn't there anymore for us.
Okay.
Portsmouth pays the ice time.
Mm.
We pay to send our athletes over there, and it's basically financially a wash for what we were paying
Okay.
previously for ice hockey. We did that with the school board last April or May. But getting back to the user fees, I understand where you're coming from there, but in New Hampshire, they are pretty rare. Last time I think I checked with Mr. Collins at the NHIA, which organizes athletics in New Hampshire. I believe there were 4 or 5 schools in the state that.
Well,
Yeah, it's different.
So there
I know.
could be-
I know in Massachusetts.
perhaps there could be 5 or 6. And,
Massachusetts, they're very common,
um,
but they're not in New Hampshire.
in the school where my son teaches in Massachusetts, each child for each sport, this current school year is $400 for each child for each sport. So if you have a student who's doing 3 sports, that's $1,200. And that doesn't cover everything, of course not. But it would certainly help in a budget situation. And I'm not sure how we're handling this meeting, but the other question that I had is why we're paying $90,000 to rent an office building when we have excess
So that's question 28.
on the 8.
Yep.
Yes.
And you mentioned the offices could be moved to an available space in the high school.
It
And
just seems that
the answer did not include a response to that suggestion, which it's really up to the school board to reorganize facilities, but it's an important issue. $90,000, you know what I mean? We've got excess capacity here. I even looked up what normal excess capacity is for a business to stay efficient. And apparently the high school is 50% utilized. It's underutilized. We have 700 students and it could hold 1,300 students. So I found out that excess capacity and utilization rates While there's no single figure for the average excess capacity, most businesses operate below their maximum potential with a capacity rate, utilization rate of 83 to 85%. So we're definitely looking at a high school that is highly, significantly, seriously underutilized. And that's why I'm waiting for the enrollment numbers.
Hmm.
Our 700 students include both high school and middle school. It's not like it's just high school students as well. So it's time, something's got to happen with the high school.
I have a question.
Yep.
How utilized are the two elementary schools as compared to their capacity?
So that was my question.
I think
Did I miss that one?
It's coming up at
you
the
had
very,
that in there. Yeah.
but we need additional information about that. It's just something that they have to work on a little bit more, but definitely want to hear about that. Yes. So thank you for that question, Terry.
Do we know, how long is the lease for? Do we at least know that? Like what, obviously, we're in a lease currently. Like, is this something that will be talked about in the future or?
Renewed annually or?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have
No
to
idea.
look into that one. I know we have a lease agreement. I just don't know when the term ends. I can get back to you on that one. There are a lot of people.
Hmm.
It's not just like our business office, it's technology.
Sure. Yep.
There are a lot of people in there.
So question 33, after school and Saturday detention, why did this increase 488%? I'm not sure why a mentor to K-5 teachers is being charged to this account number if it's for detention, but
I think it was just where it was thrown when they started to pay the person.
so they just use that line?
Yeah. They just use-
Okay.
I don't believe it's going to be continued next year.
And just real quick for question 32, I mean, as was mentioned, 3 positions were added to Bakey for the 22% increase last year to this year, but that does account for roughly 130,000 per position. Is that correct, or is it split a little differently than that?
They put 325,000 back on that line, but that included benefits as well.
Okay.
They're quick, okay, we'll add it back, and they threw it all on that line.
But they didn't specifically add it to the other lines denoting the benefits. Okay. All just in the one. Okay.
I was surprised when I saw that too.
So this question number 35 is certainly not my question. I'm sorry if I'm stepping out of line here. Is there a technical high school? Yeah. Now, again, I'm speaking from Massachusetts because we have technical high schools and that they don't have the wood and the fuel and the car parts in the high school. The children are, the high school students go to a different school.
Yep.
Is that not the way it's?
The model in New Hampshire is different than Massachusetts. So in
Mhm.
Massachusetts, you attend, say, Whittier Tech full-time.
Yes, yeah.
In all but one situation in New Hampshire, that being the Manchester School of Technology, which does have full-time students. Students attend part-time. So our students leave here twice a day and are transported from here to the Seco School of Technology, which is in the old Exeter High School facility on Linden Street. They basically miss 2 periods here, and we schedule some time around to get them back and
Yeah.
forth. It's around lunchtime and our focused learning time, which is like an enrichment period. And they attend a couple periods a day over there. I can't rip off all of the programs at SST, but they have construction trades, auto shop. They have a marketing program. They have computer technology program. They are hoping to add electrical finally to their programming and so forth. So at the same time, one of the ways that we can help kids develop an interest in the trades, which I think is a very commonly supported thing in our, especially in this community, is that we have a very strong, for generic term, a shop area. So we have a 3-bay auto shop in the
Oh,
back.
yeah, I've seen it.
We have a paint booth back there. We have a welding room. And next to that, of course, is the wood shop, which is part of where it looks like this spiked. One of the things, and I'm speculating here, and I'll be very honest about that, is our previous wood shop teacher was really, really good at finding stuff, for lack of a better term. And every once in a while, we would jump all over it because he would get a really, really good price on some really, really good stuff because he had connections all over the place and we would just grab it. So my suspicion, you take that word for what it's worth, is that this may have spiked because of that, that we grabbed some stuff. And he would find all like walnut and mahogany and all kinds of crazy stuff for the kids to work with in the wood shop.
So is this a duplication of services if they go to the Seacoast Technical School and we have it here too?
I think I was unclear at one point, and that is that some kids will not go to SST. SST doesn't have a wood shop per se, where they're making that kind of the things that the kids are making down there. And SST picks up kids most of the time. They are there their junior and senior years, and most of our kids that are in this we're looking at high interest electives for kids in the younger years, which also sets them up potentially for being successful. One of the most, in fact, maybe the hardest program to get into at SST is welding. And so if we can prep kids here, and they may have a better chance of getting in. It's very, very competitive in welding because you can make a bucket load of money as a welder coming right out of high school. And the kids love that. They're really into it. So that we have a welding shop here that can help those kids be prepared for that program over there, or supplement it, or maybe it's the only thing they do because they want to get into working with repairing cars, or a body shop program, which SST does not. At least once again, working from memory on their programming, but I don't believe they have auto body there.
Great, thank you.
No problem.
Do we know how many students attend those sorts of services and how advertised they are? And if
they're very, very well known to the kids.
Yeah.
In fact, I know that SST is coming over to talk to the kids for the first time. I think it's November 5th of this year. They're coming over for their first visit. And I want to say we send 60-ish, margin of error, probably 30 on that number. But it's a significant number of our kids that go there. And of course, that's also supplemented by the huge number of our kids that do internships and extended learning opportunities outside of the school, where some of them are working in areas that are not available at SST, in veterinary tech, electrical, plumbing, HVAC. And I would love it if they would add those programs. But they currently don't have those. We're hoping next year they'll have an electrical program, which will be huge.
Is any of the trade electives offered to the middle school students?
I don't know the answer to that. I think yes, but I'm not going to say yes.
I'd strongly urge this district to allow that.
I don't think I just don't know for sure. I don't know. That's as good.
Good question. I mean, because when they were in the middle school, they couldn't utilize that.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're right here,
I know just where to look at.
They can, I know they do wood shop. My daughter took wood shop.
I was going to say, they do wood shop, right?
Yeah, so they can do wood shop for one trimester. But I think that's all middle school does.
Yeah,
But I think some of that is a safety and an OSHA.
Yeah, I don't
From
think they
my
would
work
be involved
experience,
in.
OSHA regulations would prevent middle schoolers from doing. So it could be an OSHA issue.
The SSD is moving away from not the basic trades, but SST used to have a finished carpentry course.
Mm.
It's gone. They now have an LNA program for, you know, students who actually graduate from high school. Pretty close to having their LNA certificates.
I have no idea what an LNA
Licensed nursing assistant.
is. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
But a lot of the programs at SST have gradually morphed over the years. 20 years ago, welding was just a general part of SST. Then it disappeared as, I mean, SST has a biotech 2-year program.
Mhm.
Something had to go in order to bring that in. It was probably welding. Just like the fine carpentry and millwork classes, when as they tapered off in having people sign up for them, they disappeared and other things came into play. And at one point, last count that I knew that we sent to the SST, at its peak was 117 students between senior and junior year.
Mhm.
And when you sign up for SST, they anticipate you doing both years, because just like if you went to Whittier Tech or one of the ones in Massachusetts, you leave high school diploma in one hand, trade school certificate in another. It gives you a boost if you're actually, so a lot of children that, you know, see that as their future. That's, you know, they go to the SST for 2 years, they work it around their schedules, because it's a very difficult thing to schedule in your academics here in order to be able to be out in time to attend SST classes. You know, it usually those are the students with very attentive parents who are always, you know, joining on the spot. Okay, my son wants to take this, my daughter wants to take that. Can't get the bus back in time to ride the bus home. They come up with a way of getting their child transported.
I did look up the program. So SST is animal and plant science, automotive, biomedical science and technology, building construction, business, finance and marketing, careers in ed, computer science, culinary arts, and digital media arts.
And somebody asked about like, are the students aware? I think they're very well aware. My daughter is a freshman and it was well talked about in 8th grade. So it's definitely very well discussed within the school. Like they said, they can't go till junior, senior year, but their 8th graders were already mapping out their plans last year of what do they need to do this year and next year to be able to go there. So I think the school utilizes and advertises well.
And in the meantime, where this $10,500 is going is we maintain certain programs here in district for those students who are interested in things like woodworking. They're not planning on making a career out of it, though some of those courses are feeder classes for the SST. But I'm sure that it's still going on, that probably half of the people in like the automotive class, are not planning on becoming mechanics, but they want to know how to actually service their own vehicles. And it's a very good program for that. Just like the people that are in woodworking, since SST doesn't do woodworking as in table, chair, they're more the major
Construction.
construction. For a lot of students, that is where they pick up additional information that's going to be a lifelong vocation as opposed to job. Their love is going to be for woodworking. can't make an awful lot of money out of these days because everything comes from IKEA. But this gives them a good basic knowledge of stuff that, quite honestly, unless you're gonna do an apprenticeship with somebody who does custom millwork or, custom cabinetry, this is the extent of what knowledge that they can have. And it gives you students that have more open minds and whatever. To me, it's on par with art classes and music classes. Now, it's part of a general well-rounded education.
How is the tuition at SST funded? Is there a line up for the students who do go for the approximately 6? There's a tuition line item that,
And SST determines the tuition based on
the numbers.
a formula
There, sure.
I don't yet understand. I heard how they did it in a meeting and
And the SST is also supported by the state.
yes,
So,
and federal money as well.
so what we pay to send somebody to SST is like 20% of the actual cost of their tuition rate. So that number, do not quote me on that.
Oh, what? No, that's good. That's all right.
That's what it used to be.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite that high anymore. I want to say it's like 4,500 a kid, something like that.
Right, out of a $30,000 a year.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Okay.
That's.
I'll let that go. I don't know the answer to that. I
No,
don't know.
that's
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just talking general numbers.
I would have to make a lot of assumptions to comment, so I'll pass. But yeah, I think last time I saw the number, that was a board meeting a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, if the number is set about November-ish, they'll give us a number on what it's going to cost to send the kids there because we all have to budget for it.
Yeah.
So question 37, out-of-state tuition. Is this amount related to the Bakey incident? Is it simply because we have additional special ed students?
I don't think it's appropriate to answer that question because it might lead to an identification of individual students in a small group.
It is a rather large amount.
I heard at a meeting this week that Claremont, in order to reconcile their budget deficit, is bringing all of their out-of-state, out-of-district special ed students in-house and opening up a building to take care of them, hoping that'll reduce the cost overall with an in-house set of instructors to help the students. Because the transportation costs are eliminated, for example, so.
When the students are going out of state, they're receiving services out of state.
Yes.
Those services can't be provided in state.
Those determinations are made by the IEP team for each individual student based on the needs of that particular kid. I mean, I have faces and names in my head of some students, and they're obviously
Some have
stories you
specialized-
can't tell in this forum, but they're extremely specialized needs for certain
Right.
students.
So those services, I guess, are just not offered in the state, and that they need services that are offered in another state that meets their needs, is what we're saying.
And quite often when a student is placed in an out-of-state setting, it's 9 out of 10 times it's going to be a residential setting. We've had students that have gone to like Boys Town, which is, I mean, that was 15 years ago and it was $225,000 a year. It was actually cheaper because of the specific needs of the child. But a lot of it, superintendent he can discuss generalities, but he can't discuss exact placement that's well out of compliance with that. But it would be nice if we went for the least restrictive placement. Quite often, out-of-state placements are court ordered. And school district has no choice but to pay for it.
I was going to ask in relation to that, as you said, if one placement costs $215,000 and say another one costs $100,000, we have absolutely no say in choosing the cheaper option for a given student.
And part of the problem is that quite often you can't plan for it. You can have a child
Right.
move in, someplace between July and August. They come to school to register, and oh, by the way, this is the IEP my child had at where we used to live in Oklahoma. We'd like to see it maintained. And suddenly the SPED budget has been blown out of the water. That's how the child at Boys Town, the parents and the child moved to the school district over the summer. And after 2 weeks of being here, the parents wanted the child placed back in Boys Town. School district fought it tooth and nail, actually went to court. Court put them in, said no, that was what the child needed, the services of that specific setting. Child went back there. We paid the court costs plus the tuition costs.
So my question 44 will be delayed until you have a chance to look at the enrollment numbers, for example.
We still have students kind of settling into the year.
Right.
I have a couple in process right now, and that'll give us the opportunity that the state enrollment numbers are set on October 1st.
Sure. Yep.
That's when we sort of go, that's the day that we look at that. And so we'll do that at that point. We'll be able to give a more accurate assessment of the utilization of all the facilities. We'll also have some comments then about the design capacity of particular this building and some of the other ones. Sort of go back into the history of how the building was designed.
So I noticed question, oops, sorry about that. Question 46, but actually I have a number of items under that, so I'm skipping to. You guys can find it. At the top, it says 395 special ed salaries. I didn't have a response to that one, so I think it was just a mistake that was overlooked, so.
What's the same actually answer for
But
the one below
for
it?
the one below it's included, oh, I see, okay, sure.
Because they're the same salary line. I mean, one's middle, one's high.
Yeah, just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with right now. So in particular in special ed situations, with finding special ed teachers has become extremely difficult.
Yep.
And some of the people in that pool, as I understand it, are moving into contracted positions where they're paid on an hourly rate, sometimes higher than they can earn in as a newer teacher in the schools. Because we are required by federal law to provide an education, a free and appropriate public education to students with IEPs, we have to do the level best we can to hire people. And what we're having to do, not just us, it's a statewide problem. I hear about it all the time. We're hiring contracted employees on an hourly rate to come in and fulfill those services so we can provide the services to the kids. That's obviously affecting the budget, and where for this year in particular, you might see, I'll just say $100,000 are budgeted for our special ed salaries. It's obviously way, way higher than that. We're having to pay 20, 30, whatever percent higher to bring these contractors in, because that's honestly the only people that are available to us. The advantage, if you will, that is we're not, if the student leaves the district, let's say, we don't need that particular contractor anymore. In 2 weeks notice, we can move on from that contract. So that's helpful. Or if the person just isn't quality educator, we can do that as well, as I understand it once again. But that is becoming more and more difficult for us because the pay rates are going to be higher than we would normally pay for somebody who's on our, one of our people within our collective bargaining agreement.
So I mentioned tuition, pink COB, is that a special ed program?
Where are you?
Question 47. Following lines show major increases. And tuition pink COB, I'm thinking that is a special, possibly. You search for pink.
So Pinkett and Co-Brown Academy.
So that's special ed?
I don't know the account number that. It's Pinkerton / Co-Brown.
I would suspect two things about that line. That probably is dealing with a very small group of students.
Sure.
So it's going to be one of those answers we probably can't answer in this forum.
I see. Okay.
That's once again, intelligent speculation.
Sure.
Looking at the amount. And it's potential with Pinkerton that it might be programmatic related, because as the ginormous school that they are,
Right.
we have programs that we can't.
Yep.
And I think that's the official term, John.
Yep. And again, on page, okay, no page numbers. After Pinkerton, the next page, student transportation special ed, it jumped from 40.9 thousand to 213,000. Again, that is because we had an influx of students needing those services, so that would be a mandate.
Mm-hmm.
And again, on page, question 49, tuition out of state special education has escalated from 60,000 in 23-24 to
600.
793,000 in the current year, which again is a mandate, a federal mandate. So these are huge, huge increases. So my last question, thanks for pointing out there's no policy DJB. That was a typo. I meant policy DBJ.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
So thank you for playing.
EJ.
DBJ, I did notice some of the unemployment compensation amounts spent were less than budgeted. So I'm just asking if any of those had been transferred as line items, because I don't think that's allowed by the RSAs. So I was just curious if any of those had been transfers versus just unexpended.
No, I don't believe they were transfers. I passed this one by Matt Angel too, and he's like,
Nope, he didn't think so. Okay, good to know.
well, he also said that he didn't know any policy regarding unemployment.
Well, DBJ policy does state you cannot transfer unemployment compensation. It's prohibited, so anyway, it's not available for transfers. So when will you be presenting the enrollment data? Do you know which board meeting coming up?
So the tricky part is the board meeting is October 1st, so it's the same day. It could
Okay.
take a couple of days to settle the actual numbers, as we have students going in and out. So our October 1 number, I don't believe is due to the state for a couple of days after that. So whatever our number is, and people that are more in the weeds of this than I am know those numbers better, or know exactly how we calculate that. We were talking today about whether we count certain students that we're tuitioning to other schools and things like that.
Right.
So we have to just sort of double check that and make sure we get it right. But we should have those numbers, and then that will give us also a chance to look at the school usage questions that you guys have as well.
So you might be presenting on the 15th to school board, you think, or?
I think we'll have preliminary numbers for the board on the 1st, just because there'll be some curiosity about
Okay.
that. But I think we'll have a real solid set of numbers for the 5th. I mean, I don't think we'll be off by
Sure.
a dozen, maybe one way or the other at that point. I've looked at just recently started looking at the projections that we made for this year and what we currently have in student information system. And they're pretty close. They're pretty close. Except at high school.
When we're given the enrollment numbers, would it also be possible to get the staffing numbers?
Sure.
So that we have, how many by grade and by.
Christine is going to prepare that for us.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
She's working on it, so.
We're still in that, like the school year where this is, I think, day 15. It's day 17. So we're just kind of getting going.
Well, by October 1st, I figure you should probably know.
Sure.
Little Johnny needs a power. They didn't have a power. Little Pamela doesn't need a power from last year.
You never know.
I needed one. Yeah, I mean, those obviously change during the course of the year, as the needs in the IEP situation change. The teaching staff and their teaching load, those particular 120 or so, I think it is, they're settled pretty much right now. The numbers per class and the numbers that we have in certain areas are things that we can more accurately flesh out around the first couple weeks of October.
Well, it's not just teaching staff, but it's also administration.
Sure.
Counselors.
That were hired in to do. That all needs to be looked at as populations dwindle.
We are well aware of that. Feel that every day.
So any other questions about the responses tonight, or if you have them, we can raise them at the next meeting. I would like to have an additional meeting on October 23rd, a Thursday at 7 p.m. I don't know if you are available for that night. But by then we'll have the enrollment numbers and hopefully Christine's information about class sizes by course, by instructor, just so we can go over that data and see if the classes are filling, for example, just to prepare for next year's budget. So if that's possible, I would like to schedule that meeting on the 23rd. If I get the data early, I'll send it out to everyone so we can start looking at it before the meeting. But so that's all I have tonight. Does anyone have a committee comment they would like to make? Are we having fun yet? Thinking about it.
Could I perhaps get more of a clarification about just exactly what our role is here? All we do is look at the numbers and get an explanation? Do we have any impact upon changes, recommendations? Are we given allowed to give any input to the school board
Yes,
before they make up
absolutely.
budgets? So exactly what is our role here? I mean, in the last couple of years, it has just been, let's just rubber stamp whatever it was. And I think that could be a big part of why we're in so much trouble.
Right.
So what is our role? What sort of responsibilities what sort of control or responsibilities or responses do we have?
Well, I'd like to look at enrollment data this year compared to last year and then what the trend looks like. And if we see things are beginning to be unfilled, certain courses aren't filling as they should. And by as they should, I mean, according to the RSAs, we should have 25 or fewer. I know some districts, if a class doesn't have 15, at least 15 students, and I'm not talking about a shop class where there's safety issues, then they just do not schedule the class, or they'll stagger it the following year, for example. We need to look at VLAX. So I just want to look at the enrollment data, because if classes truly are not filling, we need to understand what's the plan going to be. Are we going to hold those classes? Are we going to combine them into a larger class size for one staff member, one instructor? So all that data is important to look at. We can't continue having a building this size that's half full.
So
And
I
we
think-
can't have classes that have 3 people. There was a class like that a few years ago when I was on school board, and it was a concern. So that's what we're going to look at, and that's up to us. If we see classes that aren't filling properly, we can say, okay, it's 5 courses per instructor, as I understand it, is a full-time load. And if there are 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 classes that aren't filling, then we need to see if VLAX offers the courses and suggest that those courses be merged together or offered in a staggering way, maybe not in fall, but in spring, or delayed till the following year, because we can't have classes that are underfilled. That's all. We can't afford it.
What is our role in trying to affect any sort of change like that? Or even as the change that we thought, oh gee, would be maybe nice to get rid of that business office that we're renting and move.
Yes, we
move
can
off
look at
this
that
here.
too.
No, but do
Definitely.
we have any input on any of those
Yes, we
kinds
have
of decisions?
complete input, yes.
If I may. I think her core question is, what are we working toward?
Yeah, what are we doing here?
Technically, we are responsible for setting the
Operating,
bottom line number for the budget.
right.
That will appear on the ballot and be voted yay or nay. The school board sets the default budget. There have been arguments in the past in this room as to whether or not the budget committee has any line item veto. And that is something that is still has never been completely satisfied. However, if we see a program, and this is, you notice there were no questions from me, because I'm not worried about what happened last year or the present year. There's nothing I can do about that. I will be looking at information that is presented regarding the next budget, because that is what we can affect. And if we look at it, and as Dr. Brown said, we see that there are undersubscribed courses, we have the ability to say, okay, that's X number of dollars to run that course. It's severely undersubscribed. We're going to cut that money out of the budget. That money comes off the bottom line. School board, in their infinite wisdom, made it decide, well, we need that more than we need something else. And that is the purview of the school board. But we will be able to look at something and say, okay, this is undersubscribed or this is oversubscribed. Maybe, you know, somebody can make an argument that they need an additional French teacher. But that is our job, is to sit there and say, okay, and this is the way I do it. I believe that the school district should be able to be run for this amount of money based on my review of the budgetary requests that come in. And I'm comfortable with that number, plus or minus whatever percentage I'm comfortable with. And we each have to basically do that. Look at things and go, okay, I believe the Bass Club is worthy of staying in the budget. Anybody who knows me from the past knows that hockey, I think, should not be in the budget. That was originally presented by parents who said that they were going to fund it 100%. And then 2 years later, it ended up in the budget. We won't go there. But that's where each person is going to, this committee is going to review it, come up with a number that they are comfortable with and can justify.
Well, last year we were told there were 3 positions were going to be deleted from the budget. And then when the budget came through, those 3 positions were back in there with the additional funds. And yet we had no, as far as I could tell, we had no say or input or veto power or anything. Those 3 positions were put back in.
However, if the funding for those 3 positions is removed from the budget, then
Still be filled. It's up to the board. It's up to
well,
the administration.
the board can still fill the positions because they alone have the ability to move money around, but they have to remove money from another line. That's why it is very careful in reviewing the budgetary requests that come in, because that's basically where we're presented. We're not presented with, here's the budget fait accompli. This is what the administration believes is necessary to run the school next year. We then look at it and say, yes, 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 no, yes. And our number is going to be different from what the administration are requesting. School board gets to vote, yes, we like this number, no, we don't like this number, but the school board can't change that. That is completely within the purview of the budget committee. School board does have the ability to set the default budget. And they have the ability to argue against the budget committee number in favor of the default budget, which is equal to last year with certain additions and subtractions in accordance with contractual requirements.
So this is why we need to meet in October to really look at all the data here and just, we can even reach out to other districts, find out what their enrollments look like for these courses. Is there any way to consolidate maybe some of the courses, use BLACs? But for example, co-curricular dues increased and the response was because of inflation. Now, inflation did not go up 83%. But I can give you a 3% increase in that number. That's the budget,
We can revisit.
for example.
That's big.
And if that's not enough for that particular co-curricular dues for a specific sport, then you're going to have to make some choices.
Well, like I said at the beginning, some of these answers, I mean, we had 3 days to do.
I understand.
There's 100 questions there, while at the same time writing policy and answering questions.
Generally, I thought you did a great job. I'm just saying that there are,
What I would suggest, however, is that my understanding of the budget process is different than what you're presenting. I would suggest that it would be wise for me to reach out to the School Board Association through Will Phillips, who's amazing, and will answer. He told me I can ask him unlimited numbers of questions. and seek some real clarity on your, and make sure that I've looked at the RSAs, and as usual, I ain't no lawyer,
Mhm.
right? And so when I go to read them, I'm like, "Mer?" I don't know what the heck they're talking about. But Will does. And I will ask him to clarify that and make sure that what the belief is, have things changed in the last several years? I don't know what that answer is, but with your blessing, I would like to be able to do that to make sure that you guys have some real clarity on what your role actually is.
I personally would certainly appreciate that.
Sure. Happy to do it.
Having been on the committee for a couple of years, it's been very frustrating, but I would like to know more. Very
Yep.
good. Thank you. And
So
I
you
realize
get
you all,
your lawyer, we'll get ours.
and I
Now-
realize you didn't have much time to answer all these questions.
I know. Thank you so much.
Good job.
Yeah, there's
But then on the other side, we only had 5 days to come up with the questions. This is
no,
all.
it's a lot. And the way the budget looks is, it's really difficult to kind of figure out what's going on in every line. But I have, as I'm preparing this year's budget, with the help of a lot of people, what I'm in my mind is to, and I just met with the department today to try out some new forms we're using to calculate everything and figure it out, largely within the school, library books and paintbrushes and soccer balls, is to try to put with each line some clarity off to the side. So if you look at the athletics budget for the last couple of years,
Mhm.
which is the only one I ever had any control over, and you said, okay, what the heck is technical services athletics? And over there you would see that's officials, that's registration fees for meets, that's not dues. Well, it was dues for the track league. They didn't go on a dues line, they would go on a different line. So it was basically the way that I paid other people to do stuff for us. And I tried to lay that out, and I'm going to ask our staff across the board when we do that as much as we can to put those numbers in there. That being said, 2/3 of our budget is people. If not more than
The
that.
school, it should be.
Exactly. So and we have to be really cautious about giving granular data in regards to people and how we present that. Like we talked about the out of district today, we have to be super cautious about confidentiality in that process. So it's not an ideal thing, but it is kind of the reality of the way that we have to present it. And I'm jumping into this, having done one tiny little piece of it and watched other people do it. So, well, your version of events may be completely right, completely wrong. I can't tell you what it is right now, but I'm going to try to find out. Not going to try to find out. I'm going to find out what the opinion of the people who do this for a living, and really advise people on that will tell us.
Remind the board that the board is entitled to have its own counsel.
So wait,
Fair enough.
is there any public comment tonight? I don't see anything unless Summer would like to check. So our next meeting is not Wednesday, it's Thursday, the 23rd. And after that, there's a Wednesday night meeting, not Thursday as usual. That would be the joint meeting, I believe, with,
That's when
Mhm.
the department heads.
yes, and it starts at 6 instead of 7. That's the November 5th with this joint meeting. And also, we may never see board member Patillo again because the RSAs have changed so that the board member to a budget committee is now an ex officio non-voting member. A budget committee. The RSA just changed as of July 1st. So he's a more,
Actually back to a 7-member.
yes, he's more of a resource than he would be a voting member. So that was just changed. Okay, so I appreciate everyone's help. Thank you so much. And we'll see you on the 23rd. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, Pam, for the notices and the text messages and emails and keeping us up on what's going on, reminding us of meetings and so on.